So many leaks! Yeah!
Before that, this video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is a virtual private network service that allows you to browse the internet securely without giving out your location and other personal data. Help out my channel and use the link in the description right now to get 3 months free when you sign up for a 12-month plan and never worry about your online privacy again. So this first piece of information comes from Twitter leaker HXL, which by the way, there will be links to all my sources in the description below, but in his leak, he seems to have found one of the upcoming Rocket Lake S processors listed on CPU-Z. In fact, he found the i9-11900 to be exact, not the 11900K, so it's definitely going to have lower clock speeds. And speaking of those clock speeds, he listed the turbo, which by the way, for the single-threaded, it looks like it's going to be up to 4.4 gigahertz, and the multi-threaded will be up to 3.8 gigahertz. So that's definitely a lower clock speed than we're going to be expecting out of the i9-11900K, which I'm expecting to have a single-threaded turbo of up to 5.3 gigahertz, but you know, it could potentially be a little bit lower than that. But either way, it's going to be much, much higher, so I would expect to see higher scores. But you know, speaking of those scores, on CPU-Z, it seems to have gotten a single-threaded score of 582 and a multi-threaded score of 5,262. And video cards went ahead and took that information and cross-referenced it with some other CPU-Z scores. And if we take a look at stuff like the i9-10900K and the i9-9900K and 9900KS, while these scores are pretty impressive, they aren't actually really any better than those CPUs. So we can definitely see here that, you know, the lower clock speeds are going to be hurting this new chip, despite the fact that it's using a new architecture. So again, when the 11900K results start to show up, I would expect those to be much higher. And so I would expect a single-threaded score probably exceeding 600 points with the 11900K, which means that that upcoming Intel 8-core processor will almost certainly take back that single-threaded crown from AMD, as well as the gaming performance crown. But you know, as impressive as that seems, this is only an 8-core processor, and while that's more than enough for most users right now, AMD currently has 12 and 16-core processors available, and they will probably have those available in the future with their upcoming architectures, such as the Zen 4 architecture that will be coming out shortly as well. So I think Intel's in kind of a bad spot here, because while they might for a short time be able to take back the gaming performance crown, they might actually lose it again to AMD if AMD's next-gen architecture does follow the same cadence that they're on right now in terms of the IPC lifts that they continue to get, as well as the fact that they're going to continue to lose in terms of the multi-core performance, and it's only going to get uglier when the Zen 4 processors do end up releasing. So, you know, again, this looks good, but I think Intel, you really got to step up your game. Now, moving on to the RTX 3070 Ti's possible release date. Now, the last bit of information we heard on the 3070 Ti came from videocards.com, where they found an EEC submission from an AIB containing names for the 3080 Ti, 3070 Ti, 3060, and 3050. Now, this is significant because not only do EEC submissions often occur shortly before a product is launched, but recently Nvidia also stated they would be hosting a GeForce RTX Game On special broadcast event on January 12th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is interesting to me because a lot of people are theorizing that they will be launching or talking about the RTX 3080 Ti at this launch event. And that's certainly possible, but I also think that it's possible that they could be talking about the 3070 Ti, because both the 3080 Ti and 3070 Ti have been rumored for a long time to be launching sometime between December 2020 and Q1 of 2021. So, you know, I think there's definitely a good possibility that either one or both of these cards could be at least talked about during this event, if not launched. So, you know, even though they could be launching one of these cards, what I mean by that is it'll essentially be, they'll talk about it, they'll say that when they're going to release it, and then you'll probably be able to buy them sometime in February, not January. So we could still be over a month away here, but you know, that's not too long. And if this 3070 Ti does end up releasing, I think it's going to be probably the best card to buy this generation, assuming you can get your hands on one, because, you know, as of now, taking a look at the RTX 3080, I mean, it's been over 3 months since that card released, and they're pretty much impossible to get your hands on. I mean, to this day, when they go on sale, which does happen every single week, well, you got pretty much a few seconds, even if you're following bots over on Twitter or you're following bots on Discord. Again, you pretty much only have a few seconds to actually get your hands on one of these, and if you don't have that thing in your cart and checked out within those maybe 5 to 10 seconds max, well, your chance is already gone, because these things are in such high demand and have such low supply that they're incredibly difficult to get. So I hope that releasing this 3070 Ti, they will have better supply, but only time will tell. But, you know, again, if they do end up releasing this at some point between January and February, I think it's going to be the best purchase, because you're talking about a card that's probably going to be, you know, only a little bit slower than the RTX 3080, but it's going to be significantly cheaper at $600 versus $700. And the reason why they would actually release a card like this is, you know, there's probably a couple of reasons, but I think the main two would would be that, first of all, they could have more defective cards that they're still going to want to try and sell. And the other reason is that, a $600 essentially RTX 3080 is going to look a lot better versus the RX 6800 and 6800 XT if they do end up getting a price drop, which I suspect they probably will at some point in the near future. And then finally, there was a Geekbench score of what seems to be a new upcoming Intel GPU that was shared over on Twitter by Tom Apisak and then shared over on videocards.com. And, if we take a look at the Geekbench score itself, it's not very impressive, but what is impressive is that this upcoming Intel GPU supposedly has 128 execution units, which would give it 3072 shaders, which is significantly higher than anything else they've ever made up to this point. On top of that, being a discrete GPU, this should have at least hopefully higher clock speeds than the stuff you see on mobile, and possibly even their previous discrete GPU offerings that they actually, I don't think they ended up even selling that to regular consumers, but either way, this should be a pretty significant step up because if you take a look at the GPU inside of an Ice Lake processor right now that's based on the same, general architecture, you're looking at something that has 64 execution units, and this upcoming one is supposed to have 128 execution units, so you're looking at 2 times the potential shaders in there, which, already if the thing, scales perfectly, which it probably won't, well then you're looking at something that's close to 2 times the performance already, and then you're talking about it's probably going to have at least 50% higher clock speed, so this is going to be a significant step up over what they have on the mobile side right now, which could give them a GPU that's actually pretty competitive in the low to mid-range segment, which is actually really good to see because that's something that we're severely lacking right now. I mean, the only GPUs that are new that are available right now, I think the cheapest one you can even get is the 3060 Ti, and that's a $400 GPU, so we desperately need some more low to mid-range cards right now that have significant improvements over the last generation parts and actually come in at MSRP and are available. But, either way, this GPU does look very impressive, and I hope it does deliver and end up being a really awesome card. But hey, that's just what I think. What do you think about the 3070 Ti? Do you think it's going to be releasing soon, or do you think they're not going to release it at all? Also, make sure if you did like the video, go ahead and hit that like button and share it with all of your friends, because for some reason I got demonetized by YouTube. It thinks that I'm in the YouTube partner program still, but I'm being treated as if I'm not in the YouTube partner program. It seems to be a bug. I don't know what's going on, but I'm definitely going to need your guys' help. So if you did like the video, again, make sure to like it. It helps a ton. But that's all I got for this one, and I will see you in the next video. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, AMD and Nvidia get more stock. Also, if you want to see more, click here. You won't be disappointed.